if you happen to sort of browse through my LinkedIn profile, you'll see a lot of this content, which was not aimed at anything to say, but just a reflection of trying to understand the industry.
Networking is something you can't stress more. Go and meet people wherever you can meet. Just send that cold email.
So if you are waiting on, let's say, LinkedIn jobs, searching for the right role to sort of, show up, and then you apply to it, someone reaches out to you, you have 2-3 rounds of interviews, and you get a role in the industry. That sadly is not the reality of today.
There is pro bono work, a lot of pro bono work out there where people are looking for freelancers, people who can work for a month or couple of months without having the expectation of any financial incentives.
Because many of us have got that lucky break, lucky interaction, which has led to our jobs. People in the industry will not be averse to it.
Just do anything to get in touch with people who are already there. Welcome to Playmakers Arena, the PA podcast. And today there are 3 people who will be, let's say, acting as a panelist for this session. I'm Anand Lee. We will do the intros later. Then along with me, Aaditya and Akash have also joined. Just to give a brief, like the format which we want to go about, so that everyone is clear. First, we'll be quickly introducing Playmakers Arena and why we have started this initiative. Then we'll start with a very quick introduction of Aaditya, Akash, and followed by me. Then I think a very common question, since this session is primarily for the MBA grads. And first question they start asking when they are born in the MBA colleges is, how is your typical day at any organization, right? That's the first question we teach the freshly minted MBA students during their first year preparations. So yeah, we will be answering that question. Then we will also just take you through very, very briefly about our journey. We will be briefly talking about, how we have come to our current positions in the sporting world, right? And once that is there, we will also, take you through the key projects which we have done or have been part of. And I think then there are a couple of questions we have received through the Google form, and thanks to Anik who has joined the meeting as well. So we will be answering those questions, and then, we can think about opening it up for all of you. So without further ado, guys, let me first introduce the Playmakers Arena. And since this is the first episode or the first initiative for us, I will also quickly be giving shout out to other Playmakers along with me. So and I will also be thanking the inspiration behind this. So I have been following ajuniorvc.com for almost 5 years now. Keshav is a dear junior, and I think they have been doing a brilliant job when it comes to, informing the Indian diaspora about the working of the VC industry, right? It's a fascinating world, and I think they are giving inside scoop to all of us on almost a weekly or bi-weekly basis. So we thought something like that is missing in the sporting world currently, and I think we can do it. Another reason of, and then I just created a WhatsApp group with Aaditya, Apachu, then a couple of people said that they are interested to join. So Akash joined, Vaibhav joined, Sumit joined, then Amay joined. So there are 10 people, and you can see all of them tagged, the LinkedIn profiles tagged in our posts. So in case I miss anyone, Rohan is there, Riddhi Pratim is there. And we have at least tried to make it as diversified as possible. So like, let's say someone like me and Sumit are working in a corporate setup. I am with Reliance Sports, Sumit is with JSW Sports. Then Aaditya and Amay are working in the startup side of things. Akash is working with a very different, like on the performance side with Bajing Bhutia football schools, right? Then someone like Apache is working in the grassroots side of things. Then Rohan comes with a very, very interesting background. He has been a corporate lawyer in the sporting world for almost 10 years, maybe more. Then Riddhi Pratim comes from a very, very interesting background, and I think apart from me, his job profile is the most sexy because it involves all the high-level stuff you hear about, like IPL, media rights, and all those things. So he works as a corporate strategy and rights acquisition team at Viacom. And Arco comes, and again, it will sound a bit funny, but I call Arco as Narad Muni of Indian sports tech, because he knows the who's and who, and I think he has also joined. So this is briefly about, and so see, as a first initiative, because we are discussing what to do first, and all of us faced a very peculiar problem. There is no content today in the market which guides an aspirant who is trying to make a career or trying to enter the sporting world as a professional rather than, let's say, as a player, right? When I was doing my research 5 years back, I was in a few lucky people that I had Apache to guide me through. But apart from that, in terms of online resources, there was a single Quora post which was there. So we thought, why not? We have very diverse background, people from very diverse background. Plus, our network has we can tap into the who's and who of Indian sporting industry. So why not start a let's create a very rich library of video content so that the problem we face when we are trying to enter the industry, no one else faces this in future. So I think what we are trying to do will serve for next, if not more, next 5 to 10 years at least, and then maybe someone in future can update it. So yeah, so that was the basic inspiration behind Playmakers Arena, and we won't be. So this is our first step, but you will see us more or less active in many domains, but there will be limitation as well. All of us are doing something or other full-time basis. So yeah, that is, I think, a good monologue from my side. And now I will request first Akash to quickly introduce himself. Yeah, Aditya, you are saying something?
So just one thing to add, we'll definitely make the best effort to share our set of learnings, experiences. But I think what's also important to remember is it's an evolving field. It's an evolving group as well. So, if at all there are some inputs, questions that come in from anyone on the call or even on social that we are not really sure of, that we're not in a place to concretely answer, I think we'll appreciate that as well, because we can take that as an input on our plate and then, really try to get to the root of it and get back to everyone essentially in the community. So please feel free to just, ask everything. We may not be able to answer everything at the first instant, but we'll make sure to share, whatever we've seen so far.
But with that background, I will just request one thing that, this particular episode is pertaining to, let's say, career for MBA grads into sports industry. We will be coming out with, so let's say, work for broadcast, for sponsorship sales, for talent management, for rights acquisition, for legal careers, for operations, for logistics. We will be coming with sector experts. So you might see myself very frequently on almost all the episodes, but we'll try someone from our core team as well as someone industry expert to participate into these sessions, right? With that background, and please keep on commenting your questions into the chat box. We will be answering the relevant questions which you guys had shared with us on the Google form as well. So with that, Akash, please briefly introduce yourself.
Very good afternoon to one and all present here. Thank you, Anand, for giving us this platform to share our knowledge with like-minded people. And hopefully we'll be able to do justice with the platform as we go ahead with this initiative. So quickly, I'll just say a few things about myself. My name is Akash Tiwari. I am originally a lawyer by qualification, but due to my keen interest in the sports domain and sports business side of things, I sort of switched over to the sports business domain back in 2019, where I pursued my master's from sports management from this Catholic University in Spain, in Murcia. And then since Feb 2020, I've been working with the Bachunbutia football schools and Garhwal Heroes Football Club as a sponsorships and partnerships manager. And my primary responsibilities at the football schools is essentially to maintain our relationship with the current partners and sponsors. And there is this small aspect of legal involved as well, where I take care of the contracts and agreements of the organization. And since I'm also involved with Garhwal Heroes FC, which is a football club playing in the third division right now, I-League third division, I also take care of the sponsorship aspects of the club. Reaching out to new sponsors, preparation of drafts, draft presentations to reach out to new sponsors. And since, again, I have a background in law, so I also take care of the contractual aspects of the players and also advise them from time to time. So, yeah, this is pretty much what I do at the football schools and Garhwal FC, the football club.
Thanks, Akash. Thanks a lot. I think many people will ask questions about how you have come to this part of the journey, how you have navigated your career from being a lawyer to, let's say, in one of the most advanced academies, football academies in the country. Aditya, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Aditya Ranade. I am originally from Mumbai and currently working in the CEO's office at Sports Interactive. I'll speak more about that when we get to the day in the life section later in terms of, what all we end up doing over here. But just to give a brief introduction about my journey, I think one of the most typecast journeys of being an engineer MBA, I went through that myself. I graduated out of IIT Kanpur in 2015. And later, I was a junior to Anand, Apachu, all of those folks at IIM Cal. Post which I did a couple of very regular MBA jobs with Uber and a year-long stint with Urban Company. Post which I got in touch with a few folks at Sports Interactive over LinkedIn, over general conversations, and then which is where this role came up. And to talk about the motivation as to why entering the space, I've been a tennis player for the longest time. I started playing tennis in the under 10 category back in school days. Was a state level player here in Maharashtra, and after a point, obviously, could not sustain at the competitive level, but then continued to play at inter IITs, inter IMs, other regular college festivals, university events, all of that. I mean, a lot of us have been through a very similar pipeline. So that continued in a big way. So while entering into the first sort of MBA role itself, definitely had a thought in mind at some point I should try to figure out if there's something for me on a professional level as well within the sports space. And luckily, after a good 3-4 long years, finally found something that is exciting enough. And I think something like a CEO's office role is probably something that's very well suited for a regular non-sports MBA background person. It's a good entry point to just get to know about that particular organization or the industry in general before selecting what exact path someone wants to take. So would be happy to just describe more about it later on. But I think that's sort of a short intro about myself.
Thanks, Aditya. So guys, just to quickly, since we started, I think at 1:05 and we are slightly behind the time. So quickly introduce, I will quickly take you through my journey because that will be my next question to Aditya and Akash. Let me combine both the questions in my scenario. So currently I'm working with Reliance Sports and Entertainment, and there are 4 verticals. Mumbai Indians as a sports team, there are 5 teams currently. I was very fortunate to be part of acquisition process of the last 4 teams. Then Rise Worldwide is I'm sure many of you might have heard about it, is the sports marketing agency. Then third part is Reliance Foundation Sports, which is everything for development for sports initiatives and of Reliance are through that. We have India's best football academy in RFYC, biggest school and college competition program in RFYS. We run high performance centers in Odisha along with the Odisha government and in Navi Mumbai at Geo Institute. And we also started Olympics program to support Olympic bound athletes with 2024 and 2028 Olympics in the mind. And I am happy to say that 12 of the 107 medals won in the recently concluded Asian Games were from our athletes. Fourth part is Indian Super League, which we jointly own with Star Sports. My role is I work so in corporates, it's not called CEO's office, but yeah, in a way, I'm in a very similar role. I work directly with Devang Bhimjiani, who heads the overall sports vertical at Reliance, and have been working with him for 4.5 years now. Then I think just to coming about navigating my journey, again, very, very similar to Aditya, very typical. So 2015 BTech, then 17 MBA for last 6.5 years working with Reliance Industries. But for the first 2 years, I was into, you can say, the energy trading side of the things. But I always wanted to work in sports. That's where luckily I got a break, and I have been working with Reliance Sports and Entertainment for last 4.5 years. So that's briefly about it. I will first come to Aditya and then I will go to Akash. So Aditya, I think you have briefly touched upon your journey in terms of organizations you have, changed. But if you can just say that it's not that I know because I have had those conversations with you, but since when you have been trying to enter the industry, and what was the let's say lucky break, if I have to use that term, which you got. So if you quickly take us through in 30 seconds.
Sure. So I think if I try to recollect, I joined my first post MBA role at Uber in mid 2019. And obviously it's a new place, new challenge. So it takes some time to really cope up with just getting to know how to do things. So at the end of the first year or so is where we actually hit the lockdowns as well. So if you think about it, lockdowns were about March or April of 2020, which was when all of us from our batch were probably 8-9 months into our first roles. And then that sort of put a comma to everyone's life in general for the next 6-8 months. But I think as I remember, as we were getting out of the lockdowns, things were coming back to normal is when I started to rethink, and I was working actively for about 1.5 years anyway at Uber. So I would say somewhere in 2021 is where I had started to actively reach out to people to even just find out, the same problem that Anand mentioned, to just figure out what is an opportunity, uh, what are the different roles possible for someone who does not have a sports management background, does not have any experience, so to say, in the management or business side of sports. Obviously, I came with a lot of experience having played the sport, so that definitely gives you some brownie points ki kuch to hai, interest to dikh raha hai. Someone who has played for 10-12 years is someone who's actively seeking out. So I think that really helps you. But for someone to offer you a full-time role, they will look for some proven credentials. So that definitely was somewhat of a roadblock for me. And then, which is where, after a month or two of search, I was not honestly able to find the right match, the right kind of role for me. And then I sort of decided to continue on this path. I decided to take up some research myself, to just look up reports in the sports industry, to speak to multiple people, just cold calling them, cold messaging them on LinkedIn, trying to find out what their roles are, what could be opportunities for myself in that or similar organizations. And then if you happen to sort of browse through my LinkedIn profile, you'll see a lot of this content, which was not aimed at anything per se, but just a reflection of trying to understand the industry. And through all of these interactions,
I'm just sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lesson for everyone in that, and I will come to my lucky break as well, because, sometimes you have to create that luck, right? It is not there, right? I came across a very interesting post where someone was talking about how to, increase the surface area of your luck, right? That luck is out there for everyone, but the vessel you have to prepare. So I think, and I remember we had a good, I think, dinner as well. You joined a couple of us somewhere in 2021, I guess.
Similar time frame, which is where I was actively trying to seek something out. And as you said, right, you all of us have that lucky break moment, especially when it comes to this industry, because there is no set path as of right now. If I compare it with other regular MBA channels, so to say, if you want to get into FMCG, you will start off as an ASM. Couple of years down the line, you will move into brand, etc., etc. Similar for consulting, you go the associate, consultant, principal route. So one learning for us is that there isn't that progression that you will see on day one. And if you really wish to be a part of this pipeline, that has to be something you come to terms with. So go on.
It has to be absolutely long term. I think you should be convinced about the potential of the sports industry.
Right.
And so, see, one thing just for whomsoever has joined, one good thing I think which has happened, and I was also lucky that for me, sometimes we talk about people take pride into saying that we walk the unknown or we walk the uncharted territory. For me, the lucky thing was that, and I think same for Aditya, and maybe a bit more, that Apache, when I was thinking about joining the sports industry full time, Apache he was working in the sports industry for 2 years, right? And that also I knew what to expect. And in fact, I think this is the right time for me to talk about my lucky break. So when I'm saying I got the lucky break, I think I created enough surface area because I was ready at that point. I won't name the organization, but through help of Apache, I was ready to join one decent sized sports company, not so known, but I was ready to take a 50% pay cut, which generally many people, I think, don't think that it is prudent. But from my perspective, I think I was taking a 10-year horizon. And in my opinion, I think I have seen that in the last 5 years that sports from being like, let's say 40-50% lesser paying industry compared to other industries, now it's somewhere at, let's say 20-30. But I am sure it will come at par and it will go beyond as well in the coming 5-10 years, right? So, and I went to my boss at that point in time that was this is the thing that I am so and I have done a post about it as well that I went to Piyush Bhatt sir and said that I'm joining this company at half the salary, and he's like, why? There is a lot we are doing at Reliance in sports. Why are you not trying that? I said, it's not that I'm not trying, but I don't know whom to approach. If you can connect me with someone there, happy to do it, right? And that's how he connected me with someone very senior in the Reliance ecosystem. And that gentleman connected me with my current boss, and that's how it happened, right? So generally, many people, I think what I am doing is very counterintuitive, remaining with the same organization for more than 6.5 years. In today's day and age, it's more or less unheard of. But yeah, I'm happy because I have got those opportunities, right? So yeah, now coming to Akash. Akash, I think your journey in a way is a bit unconventional, right? Uh, from being a lawyer, please take us through that journey. I think you've touched upon it, but can you just quickly explain in next 30 to 45 seconds?
I'll start off by giving some context. So I graduated from the Hidayatullah National Law University, which is one of the premier law schools in the country. It happens to be in my home state in Chhattisgarh in 2013. So after graduation, I joined this organization called Thomson Reuters, which was later acquired by EY, Ernst and Young, in 2019, I think. So technically, I have been, you could say, a part of organization EY as an organization for around 4 years, and primarily my role was to review contracts, agreements, basically. And but the sports person in me, the sports enthusiast in me, kept telling me since law school days that you have to do something more substantial, something more, path breaking that for yourself, so that you can realize your dream of working in an industry which you have been thinking of working of for the past so many years. So after I quit my job at EY in 2017, I decided to pursue a master's in sports management from UCAM. This is in English, it's called the Catholic University of Murcia. This is in Spain. And then I was there for approximately a year and a half, where after I did my master's, I was also working with a sports marketing agency in Madrid. Uh, they happened to have clients like Dani Carvajal, Ivan Rakitic at the time, all premier football players playing in Spain, and other para athletes also. So that was one very good, I think, opportunity for me to think of, continuing my journey in the sports industry, that too in a place like Spain. But destiny again had some other plans. So then I decided to, come back, gain some experience here in India. This was before COVID, basically. And my dream of moving back to Europe had to sort of take a back seat because of obviously the restrictions that had come into place after COVID. So uh, before the lockdown was imposed, I had joined Bachung Football Schools in Feb 2020, as I said. And since then, I have been working with the organization in the sponsorships team and in the partnerships team as well. So you could say my lucky break came in when I had interviewed for the Bachung Football Schools in, I think, December 2019, when I was still in Spain, in Madrid, working for the sports marketing agency over there. So initially, I was interviewed for a role in operations, and the manager at the time was a marketing person. She thought that I would be better fit with the sponsorships team, as I have a background which they feel could be more useful for their marketing and partnerships roles. So that is how I made it to their sponsorships and marketing team.
Nice,
And
nice.
since I have also background in law, 30 to 40% of my work at the football schools and the club involves contract drafting as well, reviewing of contracts and everything. So basically, this is how I ended up working at the football schools. And right now, I'm working from my hometown remotely, as I had to move back after the lockdown back in 2020. So ever since, I have been working remotely at the football schools and the football club.
That's good. That's super. Thanks, Aditya, and thanks, Akash. So, guys, I think we have quickly given about how we have navigated our journey so far. Introduction is done. Playmakers introduction is done. Now, I think we'll, since the time we should run a bit faster. So we will cover two things simultaneously. One is a typical day in our life. Aaditya and Akash, we will try to keep it a bit short.
Yeah.
And then some key projects which we have worked in. I think we have answered 60 to 70% of that portion. So we'll try to cover that in next 2 minutes or so very, very quickly so that there is enough time for people to ask questions as well.
So I'll sort of quickly try to paint a picture of my current role and what it entails. And before that, I believe not many would be aware of the exact expanse of Sports Interactive's current work streams as well. So let me maybe take 30 seconds to start from there. So if we actually think about what sort of roles or companies can exist in the space broadly in terms of managing of sports, we can obviously not exhaustive, but we can think of it in a simplistic way in terms of things that are athlete centric and fan centric. So athlete centric would revolve around athlete representation or just the logistics of running something like a Mumbai Indians, which is what Reliance would be doing. So that's the athlete side of things, where you're more closer to the athlete. The other story is the fan story, which is your revolving all of your work around engagement of fans. And as we all would appreciate, at the heart of all of sports activity, especially the business of sports, lies the fans. It's only when you have a growing base of highly engaged fans, you can build good business on top of it. So Sports Interactive is working in the latter half of the story, which is in the fan engagement space, essentially helping a lot of organizations in a B2B manner, if you put it that way, to acquire fans, engage fans, and potentially also help them figure out ways to commercialize this fan base. How do you then build sustainable revenue streams to commercialize all of these fans that you acquired? And typically the kind of companies that you help in this regard could be anyone who's, let's say, a team owner, a league owner, or any rights holder who wants to just increase the expanse of viewership for a particular event, and the list could go on. So coming to my role within Sports Interactive, as I said earlier, I work with the CEO's office, which is where I get to interact very regularly with the leadership team, being the CEO, deputy CEO, CTO, etc. And if I have to sort of make compartments of what I do, largely three things. First part of it could be internal governance. So a lot of business reviews, internal processes that have to happen to just keep a track of where every single stream is, what are some course corrections, changes that we need to take as an organization. Obviously, all of these calls are taken by the leadership, but being a part of the CEO's office, we get to actually help them make better informed choices, to present a lot that is happening in a better manner, to, for example, run the agenda for many of these meetings and ensure that a lot of the important tracks that we're trying to run internally or externally are keeping speed with what we have planned. So governance of a lot of these processes is one part of the daily routine. So you'll have some cadences of weekly, bi-weekly, monthly reviews that happen at different levels, and you are essentially tasked with ensuring that all of that is in order. Secondly, while a lot of the operational teams are very heavily involved with day-to-day hands-on stuff with clients, what gets missed out at times is to bring in an outside-in perspective. हम तो चलो एक IPL टीम के लिए काम कर रहे हैं as a team, but what is someone like an NBA team doing? What is the latest that's happening in, let's say, European football? What are the latest innovations that are happening? For example, Wimbledon this year had generative AI powered voice commentary, which they used to cover all the outside courts, जहाँ पे commentary होती नहीं है physically. Very interesting development that can help engage fans and just increase this expanse of what you can do with your event. So something like this, which is a recent happening in the industry. So second part of the role is to just keep a track of this, sift through a lot that's happening, and then actively share that knowledge with the internal teams to ensure that all of us are at pace. And thirdly, on a more tactical level, at times when it comes to some particular client pitches, so let's say we want to pitch a very elaborate 1-2 year roadmap to a particular client on what they can do on content, what they can do on owned assets, website, app for their particular fan engagement. If it's, let's say, a more elaborate plan, you have a cross-functional team, roughly, that works on this. Someone from content, someone from tech side of things, and then you have someone from the CEO's office as well to add a lot of industry inputs, to add some better structure to how we are trying to present it. And then that is a case-to-case tactical exercise that you have to get involved with over time. So yeah, that's roughly and a combination of all of these. So some days might be heavy on governance, some days might be very heavy on just getting that pitch deck out, ensuring everyone's coming together and getting that piece together. So some days are heavy on that, and then some days are heavy on neither, which is where you get a lot of mind space to look outwards and do some research. So I think that would be a fair picture of the things that I get to do.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Akash. Please continue.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly focus on the chunk of my time that I spent at the football school. So, as you some of may be aware, Bachungutia Football Schools has pan-India presence, and we have residential academies across 5 cities in the country, where we try to get in talent from marginalized communities, basically scholars who are students essentially who are in the age group of 7 to 17 and do not have enough resources, who come from AWS category and would like to pursue career in the in football, professional football, basically. So our scouts go and scout these players from remote places like the Northeast and other parts of the country. And then among those players, we get them to our academies. In the residential academies placed in the north of India, in Maharashtra, and one in the Northeast as well. So uh, we try to get them scholarships because all of their football training and academic training, which is their schooling basically, it takes place free of cost. So we don't charge anything from the students for them. We essentially get them from our CSR partners, and that is where my role comes in. Our team essentially reaches out to these NGOs and CSR wings of different corporates to see if they would be interested in funding the football training and academic training of these scholars for 1 year, couple of years, 3 years, depending on their basically budget. And in fact, this year we've been able to tie down one of the leading private sector banks to a roster of CSR partners. So hopefully we'll be able to add more of such CSR partners in the coming days for these scholars. So one major aspect of the work I do, and then since I have a background in the contract management side of things, I also play a role when it comes to finalizing the agreement between the football schools.
So
Yeah.
just to repeat Anik's question to everyone. So basically, if Anik, please correct me if I'm wrong, your question was around like there is, let's say everyone is interested, that's why they're in this domain, right? And I'm relating it to one of your earlier question as well, that whether there have been any compromises in the journey just because to enter the industry. So that was also there. And if the third part, if I have to say, कि घुसते time जितनी चुल थी, right? The itch which you are saying, the itch while you are entering or when you are trying to enter, has that remained the same, right? So have I captured your question correctly, Anik?
Not the same. I think what I mean is, see, I'm just relating to what Aditya mentioned, right? Played for 10, 12 years. Like you're super into sports, and you want to do that. You've tried playing professionally. Obviously, you didn't, choose to do that, or that didn't happen due to a number of reasons. Your skill set lies, let's say, for me, it lies in the business domain. I can dissect businesses. I can go into depth there. Like, so your skill set is there, but you're also close to sports, right? So you're trying to search for an option where you kind of retain that proximity to sports, like that closeness to sports day in, day out, like being on the pitch side, let's say on Manchester in a Manchester City stadium, right? Or being involved in the strategy for let's say a football team, right? So you maintain that proximity, you use your skill set. Like that's the basic idea which you wanted to solve for when you were looking for these options. So the broad question is, did that work out, right? Looking back where you were and now currently with your experience, has that worked out? Do you think that itch has been kind of solved for?
I think just a quick question to everyone. How many of you are married?
I'm married, man. I have a 3-year-old daughter as well.
Yeah, so just a counter question to the married folks. I hope you had being in some relationship with your current wife as a girlfriend or as a partner or as a fiance before marrying, right? So my question to all of you is, and Anik, I can see the smile on your face. How has that worked out from being the fiance to wife, right? So, so I can see smile on many of your faces. So see, the thing is, the reason I say that is that when you are fantasizing about something, or when you are just, just like touch and go kind of scene is there, right? That is always going to be, also let's just let the girlfriend experience is always more exciting than the wife experience. But that doesn't mean that the girlfriend experience is better than the wife experience, right? And the reason I'm saying is that because when you are going touch and go, or let's say when you are a fan, you are in touch with for a very limited point in time, right? That that 4 घंटे मैच देख लिया, 2 घंटे मैच देख लिया, उसके बाद I have other life as well, right? When you are working in sports, and Aditya and Akash can substantiate it further. When you are working in sports, you are day in day out in sports, right? And how much ever you like sweets, but if you are eating sweets all day, your temptation to eat more sweet will go down, right? So I think those testing times come in journey of everyone. So if I say that for last 4.5 years, have I been super excited for my job each and every day? I will say the answer is no. I will be fooling you guys if I say that everything has worked out. Have there been compromises? Yes. Was I ready to make those compromises? Yes, I was ready. Was I aware about the kind of compromising? Yes, because the first conversation I was having, the serious conversation with Apache, he told me very interesting thing, and that applies to all of you, and even to your question part, that the engineers and the MBAs, simple thing is most of your work is going to be revolving around Microsoft family of products, right? Be it Word, Excel, or PowerPoint or something like that. So if you work in any industry, our work as managers to quantify data and you know give an analytical perspective to people is going to remain same, whether you are in sports or whether you are in any other industry. The fun part is, so 70 or 80% of the work or the kind of job you do is going to remain same. The question is, can the remaining 20 or 30% excites you enough to still go through the same 70-80% grind? The answer for me is a big yes. And I will come to I will quickly go through a couple of let's say I call my fan moments in a day. So for me, the first one was meeting Mr. John Wright and having his number in my phone, because my first sporting memory goes back to 2003 World Cup when he was at the helm as the head coach of the team, right? Then the second interesting one was getting the opportunity to have drinks with Mr. Mahela Javardne, who was our head coach at that point in time and currently head of global sports, basically head of performance globally for MI. Having drinks with him after the auctions in 2021 player auctions, right? So you work for those moments, right? Having let's say tea with SRT at his own house. So those are a couple of things. If those excite you enough, then I think there won't be a disappointment while joining the industry. If your expectation is that you will be all the time at the pitch side, if let's say you are working with, let's say Manchester City or Manchester United, if your thing is that you will be at the pitch side along with Mr. Guardiola or Ten Hag, then you are in for a serious disappointment. Akash, Aditya.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think many people reach out wanting to work in the sports space. And I think the idea is less about getting closer to sport as a business and probably getting closer to the athletes. So even, the examples that you mentioned right now, can I be at the court side when Alcaraz is playing? Or can I be standing beside the manager of Man City when the match is on? So I think, see, that's the kind of, or बहुत common एक आता है, can I be on the auction table of the IPL? कि मैं owner के साथ बैठ के I'll strategize what team you want to build. So, these are the first few thoughts, because that is probably getting you very close to the action of the sport. जो playing है उसका, and especially people who are, ex-players themselves in some capacity, be it whatever level, college level, state level, whatever level. So the performative side of sports actually, inspires you more than, let's say, the commercialization side of sports. And if you think about it, in terms of just the sheer size of the business, where the real chunk lies is with, let's say, broadcasting, is with fan engagement, because that is where businesses are going to be built. Performance may be hai. So you can have someone build a very good performance analytics company. Obviously, you have a lot of examples of folks doing that. But firstly, also depends on region. India mein kya hai, bahar kya hai, it's probably a different story. But if you think about India, is that going to be a big enough opportunity versus, let's say, getting into a digital broadcasting, right sales, ad sales business, which is still sports at its motive, but it's not closer to the athlete or the actual playing action that's happening on the ground. So I think for MBAs especially, it's going to be a combination of what part of the industry or what type of offering is bigger in just TAM wise. इसमें opportunity बड़ी है, plus अपना skill set कहाँ पे आएगा. So on the performative side, they'll probably prefer someone with that background. They would want someone who's, let's say, a postgraduate in sports analytics or sports science, or someone who's a very specialist at what they're doing, versus we will bring in a very generalist kind of a skill set. As you said, right? You can dissect something very well. You can understand the business model very well. That may not be that applicable to someone who's heading performance, because wahan pe speciality chahiye. Whereas this is very, very well suited for the other side of things, where it is not player dependent. So I think वो एक difference जो है कि हम skill set क्या लेके आते हैं, plus even in terms of the size of the business, conceive which part of the industry is offering a bigger opportunity even going ahead, be it current size versus growing size. So, for example, digital broadcasting is something that is obviously the talk of the town, with everything moving over there and increasing values of rights deals. Now, innovating fan experience in digital broadcasting is definitely a huge opportunity for someone, and it's a way to really treat the fans in ways that they have not imagined. कि उनको एक इस तरह का hype mode, all of these are examples of that. So there's a lot of opportunity for someone with a creative mindset to do that, but they will not be as close to the sporting action as they would want to be. So that's been my learning in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Akash, please.
Yeah, I couldn't
Go ahead.
agree more with both Anand and Aditya on the fact that the momentum, obviously, we all would like to maintain the same momentum we had before we entered the field and after we have spent so many years working in the field. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think it comes down to eventually whether you have been able to find out that one type of work or that one area where you feel that, okay, if I do this, it doesn't matter if the other 60%, 50% of the work that you do, would you like it or not in the long run? So in my case, when I see these scholars, right, coming from the remote parts of Assam or Meghalaya or Arunachal, some of their parents essentially belong to working class. Some of their parents are unemployed. And when they come and join our academy, and when they graduate from the academy, as in when they sign professional contracts with professional clubs and eventually go on and represent the country, some of them, that is where you feel that you have made an impact on someone's life. Basically, you are essentially uplifting someone from one category to the other category, a higher category. So that is something I would not have achieved if I was working as a contract drafting attorney in ever, basically. So that is where I see value. That is where I see that, okay, all of us essentially want our country to do well in sports. And when you see deserving people getting there, getting that opportunity through us, is something you cannot describe basically in words. This is difficult to describe in words. And when you see these kids, when you see them smiling, when you see them fulfilling their lifelong dreams of becoming professional players, is when you realize that, okay, whatever decisions you took all those years ago, if you have doubts about that, this is your answer. Like in my case, a lot of people asked, why are you doing sports management? Usme kya hai? Why are you not going for an LLM, a master's in law or whatever? Because typically a lawyer would do a master's in law after they've done their graduation. So although some aspects of my course also involved sports law modules, but as I said, it eventually comes down your decision basically, and what you want to do with what you have in front of you, basically.
Awesome. I guess I think we have covered the points which we wanted to cover. Akash and Aditya, shall we move on to the questions part? So
Yeah.
I think can you start with the question list shared by Annik? I think we have answered 50% of it. Let's see if we have left
Yeah,
something.
I think we have answered quite a bit of it. So, in fact, if people on the call would want to post some specific questions, some specific, inputs that you would want to get from us, I think we can use the next 10 minutes for that, maybe.
Yeah, Rutvik, please go
So,
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Anand, first of all, thank you यार बहुत मतलब insightful था. So MBA grad over here, a lifelong sports person. I connected with Anand over LinkedIn. I was just asking if we could make a WhatsApp group where people, I mean, all of us on this call are probably interested in sports and something that is happening in the sports or management side, where people could share their experiences or whatever comes to their mind. जैसे अपना स्टॉक मार्केट का ग्रुप होता है वहाँ क्या सब लोग एक दूसरे का चीजें डालते रहते हैं इधर उधर, कुछ ना कुछ किसी को हेल्प कर जाता. इन अपने केस में भी अगर कर सकते हैं तो दैट वुड बी सुपर हेल्पफुल. आई ऑलरेडी शेयर्ड द लिंक इन माय व्हाट्सएप स्पोर्ट्स व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप.
Understood. So see, there are too many WhatsApp groups to be honest, and again, I have been guilty of creating too many of them in the recent past. See, the thing is, Rutvik, WhatsApp groups work with, in my opinion, if there are a limited number of people. So we already have a WhatsApp group with the core team of Playmakers Arena, and in fact, we right now are at a strict 10 people policy. I don't know why, but we are, and there have been interest of people joining the group, but we are avoiding that for now because then we don't want to lose the focus because right now the entire space, there is a white space in sports, right? कुछ भी करोगे कहीं ना कहीं hit करेगा, but to keep things focused, to keep going in one direction, I think it is needed that there is some focus, and that's what we are trying to do. In terms of sharing content, relevant content, I think we will give opportunity in terms of LinkedIn page is already active. Our YouTube group is, again, we have created the channel. I think if all of you can subscribe to it, because we were thinking of taking this session today on LinkedIn, but we are not able to do. And community aspect, we will definitely do something in future. Thanks, Arco, for revealing the plans. But we will be doing that in future for sure. But I think right now it's needed that there is some content library with, let's say, some of these meetings which we have done today, right? करेंगे यार, काफी कुछ करना है. आपको भी interest है, please join us. We need more and more volunteers, and God willing, one day, who knows, there might be a big organization called Playmakers Arena. But yeah, for now it's all volunteer-led activity. And I will again say to people who have not seen ajuniorvc.com, please see. We want to become them first, and then we will, let's say, progress in a more better direction or to higher avenues. But let's say personally, my first thing is that let's do something similar to what these guys have done. But our focus is to create a video content library. They have created a more of a written content. So Poocho yaar, please go ahead with your questions, guys.
I think, guys, thanks. Thanks for this. I think this has been super helpful. One specific question for you, Akash. Given you worked in Spain as well, right? And you mentioned that. I think how I think about this is, in Europe the industry is large, but it's probably growing at a slower clip. Whereas in India, I think it's super small. It's marginal at best. But there's a huge growth, and I think that's true for everything. But in terms of opportunities, in terms of just your career, right? And in terms of overall exposure, do you think? And obviously, I'm bullish on India, but you did you ever think back, or did you ever think that maybe Europe was a better opportunity? Keeping COVID, keeping everything aside.
Definitely. I mean, the kind of exposure you get in any domain, not just sports, obviously. In any domain, you talk about tech, you talk about any other field that you may be aware of. That is the pinnacle, essentially. Obviously, after the US, I had planned on moving to the Netherlands actually because of the language barrier. I had to essentially learn some Spanish before I could apply for this position at the sports marketing agency. So language barrier is one of the biggest, you could say, impediments. I essentially wanted to move to the Netherlands, as I said, because it's a English-friendly country. People over there speak Dutch and English equally fluently. So that was the idea. And in fact, one of my friends who was doing his LLM from the Netherlands, he was also supposed to continue his journey as a foreign associate in one of the leading law firms over there. But even he had to move back because of COVID and everything. So definitely, Europe is the hotbed of sport in general, and there are so many unique opportunities that you will not find here right now in the country. But as you said, even I am bullish on the opportunities that we are creating in the country right now as a sports industry individuals and sport industry professionals. We can see it for ourselves. For example, even like I'll give you the current example of the Baichung Bhutia football schools itself. So the kind of opportunities I got within the organization, uh, I don't know if I would have thought about this specific opportunity 10 years ago. Right now, it is possible because we have created that infrastructure, maybe not as developed, but we have created such a ecosystem, such an infrastructure, such a background, a context where we can essentially use that platform and execute our duties from wherever. So right now, I'm working from my hometown, Chhattisgarh. I'm not in Delhi, and I keep traveling every now and then because that is our main office. The BBFS headquarters are in Delhi. So the point I'm trying to make is, although Europe definitely offers you a better opportunity, please try and stay here, because this is where you will get unique situations and unique opportunities in the near future, because there is a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and even things that such as I could not have imagined uh, even 5 6 years ago or 10 years ago, as I said. And you've rightly pointed out that Europe has reached its saturation in some sense, and right now it may take some time for our industry, a sports industry, to reach there to that level and create more opportunities for people like us who are sports enthusiasts and would want to chart out a career. I am definitely bullish on India, as you said, and bullish on more opportunities in our sports industry.
Just to add one point, like Akash mentioned about 5 years or 10 years back, even 10 days back, there was no Playmakers Arena, right? Now it is. And we will be giving some kick-ass content and insights. And I think video is something which is very much, it's the format which is working currently for everyone. And I think that's why we are also trying to do it, because, and we are at our best behavior. I was advised to post my face properly as well to look good on this. So just, yeah. Now coming to like just one more thing, right? I think not only sports. So right now, if you see in India, most of the entire sports industry is around. Most of it is around execution, right? I will talk about my organization as well. I think I am the only one who doesn't have any operational responsibility, and apart from that, everyone has that responsibility as well as the mentality is also there. That's why you will be celebrated for doing something which is operational, which you can see the results in 5 days, rather than doing something which you can see the results in 5 years, right? But people are thinking about it. The good thing of working with, let's say, Devang is that he never discourages any kind of experimentation, right? And right now, I'm in, let's say, I'm also based out of Mumbai, but right now I'm in Hyderabad on a 3-day visit. And I'm trying to meet primarily the sports tech founders as well as other, you can say, stakeholders. And I'm very impressed with the overall infrastructure Hyderabad has for sports tech and the kind of founders which are here, right? And so, right from people who are at an idea stage to someone who is already clocking 2 million in annual revenues. So I have met the spectrum. Plus, uh, if you any of you are interested into sports tech, just go and check about Succeed Ventures. I am very impressed with what they have built for last 7.5 years and what how they are going about it. So I think more and more people who can become catalyst in this India journey sporting nation. We need all those people who can do this. And I think we at Playmakers are trying to be the catalyst, right? We want to enable everything called sports in India in any which way, right? So yeah, that is the idea. Guys, any other questions? We don't want to start a third meeting today.
One question we can actually take up is something that gets asked quite often on one-on-one interactions as to while you keep your search on to find a good role for yourself in the industry, what is the preparation that you can do in the meanwhile? Because it's not very easy to, let's say, land something that's compatible to you in, let's say, 2 to 3 months after you make up your mind. It may take upwards of 6-8 months or even 1 year. So in my case, if I think about it, it almost was a long process on and off from my end, which eventually sort of materialized after a year or so when something that was, workable came about. So one question that is probably very relevant to someone who's actively seeking is what is the preparation one can do? And maybe you can start off and I can add, some flavor to it later.
So see, I think the preparation, we have touched upon this when you were discussing about what you started in 2021. So first thing for anything is networking. And I think the power of networking, people don't realize. And see, I am also someone right now, if someone comes across my profile in the last, or have come across my profile in the last 1 month or so, might think that I am this outspoken guy who's trying to do too many things. But that's not the real me. Like, I am an ambivert person. But still, networking is something you can't stress more. Go and meet people wherever you can meet. Just send that cold email, do that DM, right? Just do anything to get in touch with people who are already there, right? So that is one, I think. Second, and two, on that, people who are introvert, they think that, what the other person might say. You will be surprised that people are really, most of people who have achieved something in life are really passionate about giving back, right? Even in this, like, let's say, Playmakers, I don't know what it might turn into in 10 years. But right now, I can assure everyone that all 10 of us want to have started this with the mindset to give back, right? So that is something. So first thing is networking. Second is just try to understand while doing networking that what is your skill set. First, understand that. And based on that, what can be a perfect role for you, right? And then I don't think sports needs, apart from a few technical areas like broadcast production and things like those, I don't think sports needs very specific skills, right? Your skills of analytics, your skills of using Microsoft tools, your skills of communication skills, you might get specific use cases or specific case studies while doing a specialized course in sports, but I don't think skill set is very fungible, whatever you have learned outside. So just try to think what is your strength, what are your strengths, and then play on that. Akash, Aditya.
Yeah, I think completely agreed on the networking part. Since, as we spoke in the beginning, there aren't very structured channels of getting in the industry. So if you are waiting on, let's say, LinkedIn jobs, searching for the right role to sort of, show up, and then you apply to it, someone reaches out to you, you have 2-3 rounds of interviews, and you get a role in the industry. That sadly is not the reality of today. And I think all of us can possibly make it happen 5 years from now when we are, that mature into the industry in general. But at least in my experience, that is not what someone can expect as of right now.
If you remember, Sportso tried, and
yeah,
I think they became a force as well. Like, they have some, I think, about 1 lakh subscribers or followers on LinkedIn. But after the initial traction, they have struggled to take it forward. Someone I will also like to shout out for Paul, who has created a wonderful community, 10,000, 20,000 plus. And I think he posts 2 or 3 sports jobs, might not be relevant for this group. But so people are trying, right? But I think a structured platform is required. And that's where I think someone like us
exactly. And because many of us have got that lucky break, lucky interaction, which has led to our jobs, people in the industry will not be averse to it. So you will probably be hesitant to reach out to someone at a sort of a mid-senior level in any other industry, thinking, yaar, inko kaise message karenge? We should wait for some job to come up and then we'll apply. That may not be true here. People will be receptive to that kind of a, yeah. Go on.
Just on the like funny side of it, I won't be surprised if in next 10 years IMC grads rule the sports industry, because I think we are ahead compared to everyone else. Right? Thanks to Pachu.
Yeah.
So we started it. I followed. Then someone who is our waitlist number 1 for Playmakers Arena, Rajek, who is currently working with AIFF, and he followed it. Then Aditya is immediate junior. Now we are, so from 2016, 17, 18, 19 graduates have entered the sports industry. Now we are waiting for 2020, 21, 22 and 23. I think people are interested. They are just, so yeah, I think that's
absolutely.
No Arco, we will like to defer.
Sure. So I think just continuing the point, please feel free to reach out to as many people just asking about what they are doing, and just that interaction can open up some opportunities. And secondly, I think what gets appreciated usually is just having a high level view of the industry, something that you can easily get a hang of if you come across publicly available reports. Someone like a Group M publishes a great report on advertising revenue, endorsements, sponsorship side of things. So you just get a sense of, at least on an order of magnitude level, where the industry is. You can follow, some great journals like the Sports Business Journal, Sports Pro Media. I mean, no advertisements for any of them over here, but just Google the best sports journals, sports business journals in the world, and you'll get a lot of these insights. Another one that I would recommend on a personal level is this newsletter called Huddle Up. It's run by this guy called Joe Pompliano in the US, and it's very insightful. Great insights breaking down the economics, business of sports. So I think if you start reading up parallelly with many of these things, when you have those interactions, they are a lot more curated, lot more informed, and that just probably will help you curtail that sort of cycle of you wanting to find a role and you actually getting it. So some of these things openly available, reports, journals, not a bad idea to just start reading up to get a sense of skills.
Awesome. Akash?
Yeah, so I add to what you guys have said. I think apart from this, I'll give an example from my own profession. Although I was not actively involved in the practice side of things, like going to court and practicing the profession basically. So a lot of practicing advocates, like first generation advocates who don't have any godfathers in the profession, when they enter the court of law, they do not have any contacts as such. So the clients that they get, they may or may not pay them at the very first instance. So what I'm trying to say is there is pro bono work, a lot of pro bono work out there where people are looking for freelancers, people who can work for a month or couple of months without having the expectation of any financial incentive. But I feel this is a great way to sort of thrust your way into the industry, where you offer a sample of your services for a few weeks, for a month or a couple of months, and let the other person decide whether you are that dedicated towards your quest of entering the sports industry. So yeah, I think this may not be the ideal answer that a lot of people are looking at, but I think if it is possible, you can take up a lot of pro bono work and prove it to the prospective employer that you are worthy of that position.
So Akash, do you suggest we start, let's say, I don't know, it might take some time, but shall we start posting some volunteer work at Playmakers?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Somewhere, someone from your side of things, like the grassroots clubs, they can use expertise of this group. Sugam, you had one. Please go ahead. Your question.
Yeah, so I think Akash actually pointed to it. So I was just wondering, like, for some MBA grads like us, right, it might not be immediately possible to switch professions or switch industries altogether, like without having, might have some commitments, family commitments, financial commitments, all of that. So something to something like a pro bono activity where you can devote like a 10, 15, 20 hours per week, which can sort of help you also stay attached to sports in general, and also help you build some sort of a network or work ex or some on the ground sort of experience that can then maybe take you further in the future, and then you can actually shift to a full-time career into sports. So, like, if there are any such opportunities, or how can one go about looking out for such opportunities or pursuing such opportunities?
I think what Akash suggested, we will work on that. I think, see, so what we can do is, to be honest, right now I don't think, see, it's very hard for someone with Shubham who is coming with, let's say, 5 years plus kind of experience, plus the kind of, there are some expectation as well when you come from that. So it's easy to take risk at early in the career, which, like, let's say someone like me on Aaditya or Akash took. But I think the industry needs people who have the rich experience in other industries and can complement it. So, point well noted. We will do something about it. We will start at least. So, I think we might. Apachu can also help in it. Right now, he's not ready for the video. He has messaged me separately. Apologies, Appa. And so, basically, what we can do is that we can create a repository of volunteer work. Okay. It can be something which, like, let's say, 1 day per week or something kind of that. So it can start with, let's say, work from anywhere kind of thing. And then if things go well, we can also open up an opportunity for that person to go and work side by side the actual team for some time. So I think that can be very interesting. I think good, Akash, good that you brought out the lawyer perspective. And that's why I think the beauty of our group is that although it looks like I am Calcutta ILM Association, but it's not. Believe me, there are people from diverse backgrounds.
No, that is very helpful, I think. Yeah. Thanks.
So that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. And yeah, like, I think, like, you guys already mentioned, right, networking and staying connected to people in the industry. I think that generally opens up doors. So that's a good way to go about it. Thanks for the answer.
I think even
Yeah, but
orgs like, let's say, Go Sports Foundation or someone like a Simply Sport, I'm sure they would want someone with an MBA pedigree to step in and help them drive some programs. Maybe just help them,
Yeah.
give an outside-in perspective on how they can manage the whole thing better, how they can be more outcome-driven, because these are things that we do for businesses separately. And obviously you won't find the same kind of approach with these kind of organizations as of right now. So I'm sure if we actively reach out, there might be some, not even in person, just a virtual opportunity to engage with the team, help them with their projects, and just add some outside in inputs. I'm sure there would be for many of these, and I agree with Anand. I think we can sort of try to aggregate some of these if that's possible, and could be a good forum for someone to volunteer for sure.
And guys, I'm just putting a LinkedIn profile of one person. Please follow. He is very active in the sports tech domain in Hyderabad, and he is trying to create an ecosystem where some of you might get a chance to do these part-time things. Guys, we will be taking, I think it's already 1.5 hours. Thanks a lot for taking out a time on a Saturday afternoon. We can take last 5 or 6 questions if that's okay with everyone. And people who have not spoken so far can go for it.
Hi Anand, it's Akash here, Mr. A. So I think we did speak on WhatsApp once. So I wanted to understand, as I know that you're working in the Reliance Sports into the strategy, right? So I wanted to understand what is daily role for you, and if you can share majorly.
Right now, I can't. Please wait for our edited version of this session.
Okay. I actually joined late, so I'm not really sure how.
No, we will be sharing an edited version of this video. It will be live on our basically platforms. Right now, we are active on LinkedIn and YouTube, and you guys can see the episode whenever it is ready. Right?
All right, thank you.
We can expect one view for sure, right? Anyone else? Thanks,
Hi Anand.
Akash. Thanks.
Hi Anand. This is Rishi Ranjan.
Hi, Rishi.
So we have talked earlier also. So currently I'm working
Yeah.
Tata Motors, but I did my MBA in sports management from Rohtak. So
Yeah,
last
I
year
remember.
and continue to struggling looking for the opportunity in the sports sector.
We have just spoken about
Yeah, I heard
creating
about all that things. Yeah,
opportunities, and yeah,
right.
that is a problem we completely understand. I think I say Akash, Apachu, and others who will listen from Playmakers Arena core team. I think it is an interesting challenge for us as well, because first focus is about, let's say, awareness, which we will be coming out with more episodes like this. Second can be creating these part-time opportunities.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else, guys? Last 2 minutes. Else, I will throw the floor open to Mr. Anik again. Anik, go for it, bro.
I think I know Anand, we spoke, and you said that, like, even in your LinkedIn post, you spoke about when you were contemplating switching, you actually looked at a 50% pay cut, and you were okay with that. But I think that didn't end up happening. But I think the broader question to all three of you, like, these choices, like currently and where you are at, did it involve any pay cuts, or like versus the traditional path, right? And I know, and I'm only talking about till now, because in the future, obviously, we have no idea. Like, it's not like even Aditya mentioned at the beginning, it's not like that traditional path ke ASM se brand pe jao, consultant se partner bano. I know that won't be there. But till now, have you had to take a pay cut, etc.? Just wanted to hear a bit more on that.
Anik, so I think I mentioned that when, let's say, 5 years back when I joined, it was somewhere around, let's say, 50-60% of your traditional path in terms of compensation. Right now, I think it's already at 70-75, or let's say 70-80 range. And I think if I am correct, it will reach around 100 in next 4 to 5 years. And then, yeah, sky's the limit.
I agree with Anand's benchmarking of it. Obviously, it depends on what kind of opportunity comes up. So,
Yeah.
वो तो obviously एक bandwidth एक range रहेगा उसमें. But if you
Someone like,
as
sorry
a
to cut you. Basically, let's say someone like RR is already paying industry benchmark. They are paying 100% to
right.
anyone else.
So,
GT might start there because both these teams are backed by private equity guys. And I think everyone else will be forced to follow, because I think a couple of colleagues have been poached from well-funded companies at significantly higher package compared to what they were making, and that trend will set. So I think good times for Akash, Aaditya, and myself. One big
I
pay
think
hike
I agree with your benchmark. If you compare the conventional MBA sort of a timeline of compensation, 20 to 30% would be a good way to think about it as of right now. In the average role here and average role there could be extremes at both ends. But as he said, I think I agree with that gross benchmark.
Got it.
Yeah, so I'm not going to compare my current this thing with my friends in the legal services industry or law firms, because those guys are getting paid in like a very high bracket, nowhere near that. So, but yeah, I mean, as Anand said, I think we will be able to reach that point in due course. But due course here may vary from 5 years to 10 years to 12 years. But I think, as Anand said, the trajectory, yeah.
I think it will be quicker because
mentioned, I think more or less that is what we are also looking at, practically speaking.
And I think the opportunity for us right now as professionals is actually make it a lot more outcomes focused. Because traditional path पे तो होता है कि यार आप इस लेवल पे हो तो आपके उस लेवल का आपके पेडिग्री का एक वैल्यू है. Here in the industry, if you're actually creating value, no one stops you from going up the ladder. So I think the opportunity is ki, are you creating 10x value of what you are aspiring for? If you are able to do that, I think that's where we are right now. If you go by the pipeline, there is that benchmark that we spoke about, but the upside is just an open canvas of what you can pull off for a company. So and I would say one can be very optimistic about that. ऐसे नहीं होगा कि आप बहुत बढ़िया आउटकम्स दे रहे हो एंड तब भी आपको इंडस्ट्री वैल्यू नहीं कर रही है. That is not going to happen for sure.
Correct. Industry has started valuing me. Yeah, I completely agree on a side. And I think on that, like just to give you guys an idea, right? if let's say some of you are working in a marketing role currently and want to switch to sports, fan engagement can be an area which you should look at, right? Because it's an open canvas right now, right? In India, because we take fans for granted, we are not doing much. But if fan engagement can be through NFTs, gaming, content, startups, performance. Whenever anyone thinks about sports tech, it's always about performance. It's much more than that, right? So you can think about that. You can, if someone is passionate about esports and gaming, do something in it. Even if, let's say, nothing more, even if you are just following a football club, even not Indian football club, start creating a community around it, right? Start creating a community. Power of community is, I think, you can't appreciate it, right? Even if, let's say, in today's call, at peak, there were 20 people, right? But I think these 20 people are someone who are very, very interested about this, right? And if, let's say, tomorrow this podcast reaches to 50,000 people, that's the power, right? That's the power of these 20 people, right? The questions you have asked, the questions we have tried to answer, the power of, let's say, that's the power of community in which we are trying to create playmakers, right? So try to create a community in any which way. Guys, one last question. I think काफी हो गया अभी.
Anand, yeah, hi. One question that we told about this thing, the private equity are coming into the IPL right now. Okay, so there's this thing. If you look at the trend, many more private equity partners will come for different teams. Okay, because Goldman Sachs is also coming up with the sports equity now. So the people like us, yeah. So what they are doing right now, if you look at the Gujarat Titans or Rajasthan Royals, so they have this corner set up who's taking a decision. And as you said, the operational part is doing by the Indians. Okay. So if you have to break through,
Not get it. Yeah, please continue.
you have to break through in that particular equity game of a sports. So what should we do as a sales person? I'm into sales, okay. But I am much more interested in why they are doing it, the NPV they are getting it, the future value out of it, how they are going for it. So on that part, I was keen to looking for the answer. I have connected with the people, but I didn't get any particular, you can say, a roadmap. Which you do this, you can go, and then you can end up somewhere near to that profile. So if you can help me with that part.
I don't really agree with you on the first part, where you are saying that Indians are only doing operational work and the decisions are taken outside India. I won't agree. If you just take the organization structure of Rajasthan Royals, just see who Mr. Ranjit Pal Thakur is and who is Mr. Manoj Badale, right? And Redbird Capital is only at 15% stake, right? It's still Mr. Badale and others. So in terms of GT, yes, CVC Partners is the owner, but Captain Amrinder is the one who is running the ship, and he's again full Indian as far as the last one. And second, I think the private equity part, I think I will need to understand your question in a bit more detail. I can help you. We can take that conversation separately. You have my number, right? Please drop a message again.
Sure.
We'll take that separately. So guys, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for joining again and again. Yes, there was a dropout of 2 or 3 people, right? But yeah, Maja, I think a good start. And thanks a lot, Aaditya and Akash. I think great insights from your side of things. And yeah, we will stay in touch.
Oh, agreed, man. Very, very good start, I think. Good place to be at with so many people having this level of interest in wanting to enter the industry, which is always a good sign for us going ahead. So I think let's build on top of this, and excited to see where we can take this together.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you. I think the meeting for everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.